Hi everyone, my name's Adam Botterill and this is my colleague Michael Turner. We're from Tempest Litigation, Funders and Debt Buyers, and we just want to do a quick video today to talk about some issues that we see with debt and the kind of pitfalls that people can fall into, and then how people can avoid falling into those mistakes and trying to get those collections up a bit. So Michael, why don't you talk about a little bit about what Tempest does in terms of the kind of debts that we see, and then I'll talk later about how we can avoid some of those problems.
Thanks for that, Adam. So here at Tempest, we see a variety of debts. We've seen debts in the construction industry, the recruitment industry, along with a variety of wholesaler debt, for example, the hospitality business.
And so some of those problems, Michael, how do they crop up in terms of those issues?
I think the key approach to credit is to be proactive. Before onboarding a client, you need to conduct credit checks and make sure that you have adequately signed terms of trade. And if your customers are wavering, make sure to actually follow them up or issue a stop credit.
In terms of what we see, the common problems being around disputes and debts that are hard to collect is that there's that lack of documentation. So if a dispute arises, it's really important that the disputes are essentially in writing, recorded, and that way when you're trying to go down a collection process or you're talking to a debt buyer, then you can give the full picture without having to have 50 conversations about what happened. If it's all in writing, it means that it's there and recorded and easy for everyone to see. In terms of doing a bit more due diligence as well on clients, there are various options that you can take, such as doing, like Michael said, you can do credit checks, you can do trade references, you can also have facility and account limits in place that mean that you're not overexposed to one client and sticking to those. However, often, doing all those things is not enough, and you're going to have a client or a customer that does default. And so when that does happen, as Michael said, it's about taking action quickly and not actually letting that get too old or aged, because the longer that you wait to collect or take action, often it's harder to actually get that money in. So I think having a plan in place to essentially recover those funds is really, really critical, and not letting things sit for too long. And again, with making sure you document all of your recovery attempts, because that will be really important to hand over to if you can't collect it yourself, either a third-party collection agent or a debt buyer like Tempest, to enable us to go and actually finalise that recovery. In terms of the kind of industries that we're seeing right now, Michael, what's coming up kind of more often? Is there any industries that are particularly affected by?
A specific amount of the construction industry typically invoices around $5,000 to $10,000, sometimes more. A particular issue we've noticed is that often the legal entity is not explicit as to what the customer is dealing with. So for example, it might just have the company, but then construction companies often operate in groups. So it's unclear whether it's the trading entity or the group or what have you.
So it just comes down to making sure that those initial terms are correct and everyone's clear as to who is contracting with who. Because when you get into a dispute, down the track, if that's the case, it seems to be people's go-to tactic to say, well, I'm not even in a contract with you, I'm in a contract with this other company or this other entity, and they try and essentially avoid paying out because of that. In terms of construction though, do we just look at construction debts, or are we open to all industries?
We're open to all industries, so basically any debt, wholesaler debt, so if you're a hospitality provider, if you're a recruitment company, if you've provided any other services, we're definitely interested.
Okay, awesome. Well, I hope that's been a little bit of information for you on what we're seeing in this bad debt space, and also some tips and tricks to try and avoid going down that path. But if you have debts that you're having a lot of difficulty with, and you essentially want to move it off your plate, give us an email, and you can actually send us some details, and we'll be in touch, and hopefully we can help resolve any of those outstanding issues that you have.
Awesome.
All right, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Cheers.